Maresca is starting to get sick and fed up in today's presser. I'll be going through so many stories today, my friends, including the predicted lineup, some interesting rumors, and some serious conversations and news reports as well. So it's going to be a jam-packed video. Might be a long one. I'll be breezing through these reports. So I hope you guys stay locked in right to the end on BlueLionsTV. Hope you guys enjoy, and let's get straight into things. Now let me get a rumor out the way first. Some of these rumors are a bit fun, but anyway, Spanish reports reveal that Real Madrid are kind of desperate now for Enzo Fernandez, and they are even hoping to offer Arda Guler in exchange, including 40 mil euros on top to secure this deal. Now, I think straight off the bat, that is an absolute no. I'm going to ask you guys this just immediately, just for the sake of conversation. Would you consider even remotely, slightly, possibly offering Enzo Fernandez in exchange for a more serious player from Real Madrid? Could that be a Tchouaméni? Could that be a Rodrigo? What are you guys saying with that? I don't normally ask questions immediately, but it's a rumor, and I want to see your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Of course, Madrid are desperate for a profile like Enzo in their team. Considering they have so many pacey forwards that break into the box, they need someone that can connect them, play the balls over the top, and of course just provide a better link between defense and midfield and all these other phases too. And Enzo could be that guy. But obviously Enzo wants to remain here. He has a very good thing going on here right now. Hopefully we get Champions League football. But my thing will always be this forever. If we don't get CO and Madrid start really turning up the pressure, could they force Enzo Fernandez to at least consider them? I mean, I don't think anything is impossible in this game. So again, share your thoughts and opinions on this rumor. For another quick story, we're learning today that Kobel of Borussia Dortmund, his agent, has landed in London today to hold conversations with interested clubs and parties over the availability of his client in the summer window. It's a well-known fact that Kobel is destined to leave Dortmund at the end of the season. Dortmund have secured his replacement in Ramaj, who is currently on loan for Copenhagen or somewhere in Denmark at the moment from Ajax. So they know that they need to cash in on this guy and receive a good bid and a good offer. And we have expressed long-term interest in Kobel. So let's see what happens here. But my first initial thoughts, I guess my only worry is that I don't want to spend this summer window doing this never-ending wheeling and dealing stuff that I feel like kind of wastes our time in these windows, yeah? I want it to be more focused, more prioritized, like we know what we need. And I mention this point because is it a necessity that we target a goalkeeper? Like on a real one. Kobel is a great keeper, but he hasn't even had the best season. Petrovic has been doing big things in Liga, and ideally I want this guy to come back and get a real chance. He showed great promise in his debut season. But for conversation, a part of me always feels like if the right offers did materialize, could we consider doing this wheeling and dealing stuff that we've shown we love doing these last few windows? And if we receive big money for, let's say, Petrovic or Sanchez, for example, could something happen there? Reports prior mentioned the fact that Jorgensen or Penders could both or either one make a loan move to Strasbourg. I think ideally that would have to be Jorgensen. I think Penders needs to just remain at Ghent right now. He's only played half a season, play a full season in Belgium, then make that step up on loan elsewhere. That makes the most sense for me. And if Jorgensen and Penders start leveling up in these next 1 to 2 to 3 seasons, I don't think we need to be in a situation where we've invested a big outlay on a goalkeeper unless Chukwuemeka is part of a player exchange, because Dortmund need to sell him, and ideally they don't have the funds to secure Chukwuemeka. So I don't know, man. I think it's an interesting story that we'll just pay attention to, and let's see if more things grow. But the fact his agent is holding conversations is pretty interesting. You know what, lads and ladettes? I think it's time that we talk Enzo Maresca's press conference today, and straight off the bat, we've learned that Malo Gusto is at least doing some running now in training. His injury is not as severe as first thought. Phew, that is good news because I want to have numbers during the end point of the season. Mark Yu is still out. He might be back in the next 2 weeks. And Somino is still out. He has been injured since he's actually come to the club, and that's why he hasn't been playing or doing anything, even participating in game time for the under-21. So that is the context to remember. Lavia should be destined to get some kind of minutes now against Everton, which is key for us. I think tactically, he's been a big miss for us this season. Okay, that's the team news stuff out the way, but Maresca was then asked about the state of the season and how successful the season has been in his eyes, and would it be a success if we somehow missed out on Champions League football? It does seem like Maresca kind of snapped back a bit. I think he's been sick and tired and fed up of constantly repeating himself, and to be fair, I'm a bit bored of constantly just reading the same answers for the last 5 weeks now from Enzo Maresca. Like, I can't be Giano's fan of like a more clever way to extract more insight from their press conferences. I don't know, man. Hopefully something happens soon, right? But regardless, it did seem like there was a bit of a defensive attitude from Maresca, as he's been reiterating the last few times now over the recent seasons prior. We've not been in this position, in a top 5 position. You know, we've not been in the Champions League. We haven't been doing anything. So just based on those simple comparisons, what we're doing right now is better than what we have done before. That's how he's seeing it. Of course, that then turns towards the fan frustration, with Enzo admitting, listen, it's frustrating for the fans that we're not winning certain games that we should do. But I do feel like it's a bit defensive, because I think a lot of the frustration has come from the fact that we've seen a regression of ideas as the season's gone on. And I understand it's not like that simple to, you know, scheme up a new plan and get us firing again 1 or 2 games later. I know it's not that simple, but it has felt like we've allowed teams to suss us out a bit too long at times. And hopefully as the season's coming to the crunch stage, we're starting to slowly get out of this rut and hopefully secure a top 5 position and get Champions League football. I really think that's clear now. I think the facts protect him, because what he's saying isn't wrong, but I think the context doesn't necessarily do so. But equally, you know, I'm of like differing minds, because I think to myself, yeah, rightfully, a lot of us have been frustrated. I think that's fair. But then you think to yourself, do we have to put some of this stuff to the side now and just focus on trying to get Champions League football, because it really is that important? We get CL and big things will happen at this football club, especially during the summer window. And I think, you know, that promised land is just like so great that that should be the most important priority, in my opinion. But you know what, Enzo, it would be nice to get some different answers from you, instead of you constantly just reminding us for the millionth time that we haven't got CL in the recent few seasons. And you know what I mean, give us and the fans something to work with now. But to end things on his opinions on players, of course, Tyreek George made the matchday squad ahead of Nkunku in our win against Fulham. It was a masterful decision, and I think managers also make their bread and butter based on these types of decisions. And Maresca basically said, you know, I'm not the type of manager that will just blindly pick a player based on a price tag over an academy guy. And I can agree with that, but from a footballing perspective, I can also understand that Tyreek George suits playing up front more than Nkunku. And considering Nkunku doesn't really have any strong position to do anything this entire season, is there a need to turn towards him when not only is his form down, but he doesn't offer anything in this system? So hopefully Tyreek gets his moments against Everton this weekend. Yeah, I think this is a great promising signs of Tyreek's growth right now for that brilliant equalizer against Fulham. And then on the final player, Pedro Neto was the point of discussion. Of course, Neto is statistically having his best scoring season in his entire career. He has been injured so often throughout his formative years that I think we forget that he hasn't played as many games for his age yet. But Maresca, of course, says that a big possibility that he'll be one of the first team guys. He praised Neto for being a team player because his best position is on the right-hand side. Maresca admitted that. But there has been times where he's had to play as the 9 and also on the left-hand side for the team. And I like the fact that Neto can at least offer us this flexibility. I like having players like this in my squad, right? But the challenge now that he's presented to not only Neto but Noni Madueke is getting to 10 goals. Noni has 7 or 8, Neto has 6. Ideally, the numbers these guys should be putting in that Maresca says is at least 10 goals minimum. And we're going to need more goal threat now outside of Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson. So our wingers are going to be some of the most important players for us as we come to the end of the season. So that's the press out the way. Share your thoughts and opinions. Which now leads us on very nicely now to a small little report as Leverkusen are expressing some interest in signing Petrovic from us this summer. Now, of course, he's been doing big things for Strasbourg and Liga. Petrovic has said that depending if they get Champions League football, he could even consider remaining at Strasbourg. But if they did get CO, Petrovic will have played a massive part behind that. And if we decided we have to sacrifice someone and cash in on someone, he could secure us some big money based on the performances that he's put in. Petrovic's market value was originally at 9 mil euros when we first signed him. It's doubled now, especially after the great season he's now had with Strasbourg. And the potential for that value to rise is looking very likely at this point in time. So if we decided Petrovic could bring us big money, I think bids minimum of like 35 mil to 40 mil are fair fees for someone like Petrovic. But again, I hope we don't do that. I think this guy, I think he's a good goalkeeper. I like his mental qualities. I like how he learns very quickly, which is a great sign that he can reach higher levels and become an even stronger, better player in time. And I think the fact that he's had a season now to just get used to the ball playing aspects that is required of him right now, that puts him in a much better, a stronger place, especially as he's got many accolades and much praise for his performances this season. So I hope that we don't do anything crazy. I hope that we keep him. I think he deserves a chance to show what he can do for us from next season. We have two more big stories to discuss, as well as the predicted lineup. And for the big story that was revealed today, finally, we are learning some insight behind how we plan to have our defensive unit for next season. At the moment, we have 9 defenders, all of great qualities and very interesting aspects of their game. We have to focus down on who the main guys are going to be for next season. I don't know why I said guys like that, but the Athletic provided us some answers finally that we can work with, and they seem to be pretty interesting. Now, I'm going to just speed through this. We're learning that our new recruitment in Mamadou Sarr, there's the likelihood that he remains at Strasbourg, especially because it seems like they've guaranteed European football and they're even close to getting Champions League football. If that happens, I think it makes sense for this kid to remain there, play in Europe, play a full season, and come back to us even stronger the following season. We've learned that both Renato Vega and Disasi will probably be getting sold. Vega can be flipped for bigger profit as a lot of clubs are showing interest in him, and the Juventus are considering keeping him after he is currently excelling under Igor Tudor at Juve's back three. And Disasi was promised an exit once he secured that loan move to Aston Villa, so they're both guaranteed to leave us. We're learning that Kobel and Achampong are no sales. They will never be sold. They're going to remain here. Everyone having doubts around Levi Cole, I think personally it's just too soon. It lacks perspective, it lacks insight, and it just tells me that people don't really have any perspective when it comes to watching the development of young defenders. You're so used to watching his age mates doing big things for mid-table clubs, where you only remember them for big performances they put in, but you just ignore and forget all the mistakes they also make in their game, because your Bournemouths and Coes are mid-table level teams. So the attention to detail, the scrutiny is a lot harsher at the highest level, and I think this is where us fans can be harsh on young players making it at big clubs, because we cast a very judgmental lens on them for not being perfect immediately, because sadly, that's the expectations that we need. So listen, Kobel's remaining here, and it's the same thing for Achampong, and we're also learning that he won't even get a loan move next season, which is big. So I'm guessing he will replace a Jalaba as one of the main guys in the team. And I think with the talent and potential he has, yeah, he needs to be getting a lot more minutes for next season. But to continue on, Badiashile is set to remain at the moment, which makes sense because if Sarr's not coming, we need to have 2 left-footed defenders. So Badia, hopefully he can just keep his fitness, because we haven't even really seen a full, strong glimpse of what this guy's about, because he's been so start and stop in terms of his career here due to injuries. Outside of that, Anselmino is guaranteed to get a loan, which makes sense. Hopefully that's to Strasbourg if they get Champions League football. But again, we can't loan them out there automatically, right? They'd have to strike a deal independently to make that happen, so who knows? But regardless, Anselmino had interest from Atalanta and Marseille and a few other clubs for him in January. It's a good thing he didn't go there because he's injured with these muscular related problems, and it would have been terrible for him. So next season will be a big one for Anselmino. Let's see what he does. And outside of that, my friends, that seems to be everything. Of course, Jalaba, again, how am I forgetting? He's likely to be sold as well. So there is going to be space for recruitment now in defense, with Howson being a popular guy and a few other defenders we're looking at too. There's no need to mention Wesley Fofana, as he's also remaining too. So that is everything we're learning about the club's plans for our defense for next season. And, you know, next season's defense of Badia, Kobel, Wesley Fofana, Achimpong and Howson, that isn't a bad back five to turn to, right? That is really not a bad back five to turn to whatsoever. And for my predicted lineup now against Everton to end the video, Nico Jackson up front, behind Sancho on the left-hand side. I've gone for Palmer in the middle. I've gone for Neto on the right-hand side. A mid of Moises and Enzo, and a defense of Cuckoo, Kobel, Jalaba, Reece James, and Sanchez in goal. I think this is probably the informed lineup. I thought, starting from attack to defense, you know, I thought Noni was a bit mids in the game against Fulham. So for those reasons, I think now that Sancho's on form and Neto's on form, it's only Noni we're now waiting for. I can sympathise with the fact that he needs a bit more time after injury to find his groove again. Cool. But yeah, that can come over the next few games. But in the meantime, tomorrow, Neto on the right-hand side, Sancho on the left, and hopefully we can see more contributions now. It's great that Sancho is providing more with assists, which is good. And Neto scoring too. Scoring a few recently also helps our cause, especially because I can't rely on Nico Jackson, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, even Cole Palmer now. I think out of all the players who've had the best opportunities, Cole Palmer has had them. And sadly, you know, even though his numbers are still good and he still affects the game, let's not pretend he doesn't do that. The only thing that is missing is his accuracy and his finishing ability. And we're going to need that. We can't forget that 6-0 thrashing of Everton last season, with Cole Palmer stealing the show in that game, alongside Nicholas Jackson too. So a remontada of that tomorrow is going to be helpful, because Everton is a game that we can't afford to miss out on. That must be a guaranteed 3 points if we want to keep staying in this top 5 race. Midfield speaks for itself. Moises, the genius, is going to be about now. He has no suspensions to worry about. Cool. Enzo Fernandez, I think he's had a good season. I think I would say Enzo has been our most improved player, actually, probably by a distance this season, which is promising to have as we're coming to the crunch point of this season. They're going to be key for us. And defense, I think it speaks for itself. Now, ideally, I was thinking to even have Jalaba on the right-hand side and maybe Tosin in defense, because Everton have some big boys from set pieces. But now that Tarkowski is not going to be about, he's got like a bit of a hammy at the moment. I feel like we have to play football to beat them. But this will be, you know, this is a serious Everton team. Yes, in the last 6 games, 1 win, but they picked up 3 draws, 2 results. And they're losing or not getting 3 points, but like a 1-goal difference margin. I mean, they stay right to the very end, and only City beat them in the final like 8 minutes of the game to even secure 3 points. So this won't be an easy game. And under, you know, David Moyes, he's very good at knowing how to stop teams' counter-attacking threat against Everton. And that's going to be a big thing for us, because for me, individual ability will be the difference maker between securing 3 points or not. So my friends, that is the predicted lineup. That's all today's reports. A lot to unpack, a lot to go through. I hope you guys have enjoyed the vid, and make sure you definitely stay involved in the conversation and share your opinions on all the rumors, the stories, and the updates. So I will catch you guys on match day tomorrow. Come watch the game with me on the watch along. Peace and love, my guys. Cool.